Hi, this is John Sterling, and you're listening to the Batboy's Corner podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode number 1 of the Batboys Corner podcast. I'm Billy Pinkney coming at you from the Batboys Corner studios in Little Falls, New Jersey. Today we'll be talking about the coronavirus and how it's affecting Major League organizations as well as the players. In just a bit we'll have current Detroit Tigers pitcher Tim Adleman on over the phone to discuss the pandemic and how this affects the players' preparation for the season. For those of you who don't know, Major League Baseball suspended spring training and will push back the start of the regular season by at least 2 weeks. So ultimately, the remainder of spring training is canceled, and it looks like they will be pushing opening day back at least 2 weeks as well. On Thursday, Major League Baseball released this statement. Following a call with the 30 clubs and after consultation with the Major League Baseball Players Association, Commissioner Robert Dean Manfred Jr. today announced that MLB has decided to suspend spring training games and to delay the start of the 2020 regular season by at least 2 weeks due to the national emergency created by the coronavirus pandemic. This action is being taken in the interest of the safety and well-being of our players, clubs, and our millions of loyal fans. So that's a word from the commissioner. Major League Baseball is talking about the possibility of playing in an empty stadium or moving games to spring training fields. It just doesn't make sense to me. You know, you look at how the Orioles handled the riots. They had to play in an empty stadium for a game, and you know, it's just not good for the fans, for the the whole organization in general. You know, you want to have that traditional fans in the stadium, packed house, everything's run like it's how it's supposed to. Lance McCullers of the Astros tweeted the other day, and he said, "I don't want to play in any empty stadiums. Fans are one of the best parts about this game." So clearly there are guys who are speaking out about it. Jason Kipnis, a well-respected guy around the league, also said something. And he said, and there it is, early questions from players. Do we go home now? Stay and train? How and when do we start back up? Have another 2-week spring, then start where schedule picks up? Do we still get paid? This is wild. So there are still questions that have yet to be answered. So when we come back, we'll have Detroit Tigers pitcher Tim Adleman on here to discuss this whole situation and see if any more questions have been answered. Throughout my interviews over the years, I've always asked my interviewees what advice they would give to a younger player. I've decided to take those clips of motivational advice and turn them into Motivation Monday. Check BillyTheBatboysCorner.com every Monday to receive brand new advice from professional athletes. All right, we are back here on the Batboys Corner podcast with a special guest over the phone, and that's Detroit Tigers pitcher Tim Adleman. Tim, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So this season you signed a minor league deal with the Tigers with an invite to spring training, and you had a great spring so far until the shutdown. What has been your reaction, and what did you decide to do?
It's been pretty tough. I wouldn't say it's out of the blue, but it's obviously there's no precedent for it. So everyone's just scrambling at this point, trying to figure out what to do. So actually the team today just informed all non-40-man roster guys that they have to leave camp, and that 40-man roster guys have the option to leave or to stay. So just getting my stuff together and getting ready to head out and continue training back home.
Right. Now, what has your reaction been to this whole situation from the start? You know, you had that time period where you heard about this whole thing going on, and then the moment where you found out, wow, this is actually going to affect us in spring training.
Yeah, I would say it's a little bit of disbelief, actually, that it's come to this, but obviously it's pretty serious, and health officials and government officials and everybody, they're all taking the measures that they feel appropriate to make sure that they stop the spread of this disease, or virus, excuse me.
Right.
Yeah, it's been almost like a scene out of a movie where it's just like stuff's kind of shutting down. You're not really sure if you should leave your apartment or should you go out to eat. And obviously the answer to some of those questions is no. As much as possible, you want to, I guess, self-quarantine yourself, or social distance, they're calling it. So it's been very strange, to say the least.
Right. Well, you just mentioned how, the Tigers are now sending guys home. How else have they approached the situation? Have they taken any other safety measures?
Yeah, they deep cleaned the spring training facility.
Okay.
Disinfected it on Saturday, and we haven't really met as a group other than a brief meeting since Friday. So the facility was closed Saturday and yesterday, and it's been very different than a normal spring training schedule, obviously, because the games were canceled as of, I think it was Thursday, maybe it was the last game, and they didn't even play them in Arizona because of the time difference. So it's definitely been something that we're all trying to get adjusted to.
Right. Now, being a pitcher, everything's a process, and, hitters, they have their own process. But as a pitcher, how are you going to go on with your schedule? Are you going to be throwing bullpens, live at-bats? How's this all going to work for you now?
I'm just going to try to play catch probably 4 or 5 days a week.
Right.
Because with everybody going their own separate ways, it's going to be really tough to do live VPs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll fit some bullpens in there every now and again to try to stay as sharp as I can, but it's tough to stick to a certain routine because there's no precedent for this, and we don't know when we're going to be able to resume team activities. So
right.
Just going to have to feel it out and pay attention to the news and hope to get a better idea of when we might be able to resume.
Right. Now, do you think this layoff will have more of an effect on the pitchers or the hitters?
That's hard to say.
Yeah.
Because everybody's got an individual routine.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody responds differently to long periods of rest, I guess you could call it. So it really all of it is going to depend on the individual, I would say. But overall, everyone's going to need time to get adjusted, and it's going to be basically like starting all over again. So
right. Now, you were competing for a roster spot on this team. How does that affect you? Do you think it helps you, or do you think it hurts you, being that you guys now have to go home, and who knows if you're going to have another opportunity in a spring training game to prove yourself even more?
Yeah, that's another question that's really hard to answer.
Right.
I would say that it probably hurts me because I had been throwing the ball pretty well in camp, but there's no way to know what type of opportunities I'm going to have going forward. So just kind of try to stay as ready as possible. Hope for the best.
Now, what are your other teammates are also heading home, or some of them are staying as well?
I'm not sure about the 40-man guys because
Yeah.
there was a bit of an urgency for the non-roster guys to get out of there. So I don't know that there was much that was said that non-40-man guys had privy to. So it's basically just up to the individual guy, and it's a little too much to try to keep track of. So I think everybody's just trying to figure out their own plan, their own schedule, and they're going to go from there.
Right. So it doesn't look like there's any time frame on when this could, go away and when you guys could start up again. Right? It looks like it's just a matter of wait and see.
Yeah, that's probably the best way of putting it. They haven't. The Tigers and MLB, they only have so much information, and I think they're trying to get it to us as soon as they have it. But because it's such a strange situation, it's hard to really put a timetable on anything.
Right. Now they're talking about possibly playing games, major league games at spring training sites, or playing in empty stadiums. How do you think that would work out if they were to do that?
That'd be really weird. It'd be very tough to get everything like you normally would if you were playing in front of 40,000 people. So
right.
It's going to be interesting to see if that's what it comes down to.
Now, do you think shortening the season would have a drastic effect on the guys? Maybe it would allow them to, be healthier throughout the season?
Yeah, that's something that might come into play. Obviously, guys have a little extra time to get their bodies ready and a little more time that they're not playing the everyday grind of a 162-game schedule. So that might be a bit of an advantage, but I think it's a little too early to tell.
Yeah. Well, Tim, I appreciate you coming on, and stay healthy. Best of luck this season. And we'll be right back here on the Batboys Corner podcast. Anchor Down Sports Performance and Billy the Batboys Corner have partnered up to bring to you Tip Tuesday, tips from professional baseball player Conrad Gregor. These tips are designed for young players who are learning the game of baseball and look to improve their skills. You can find these videos for free on BillyTheBatBoysCorner.com or on the YouTube channel Billy the Batboys Corner. We are back here on the Bat Boys Corner podcast. We just had Tim Adleman on, pitcher for the Detroit Tigers, and it still looks like there are many questions. People don't know what to do. Major League Baseball could only answer so many questions because they themselves don't have any information for the players. And, you look at Trevor Bauer, pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds, and he's done some great things. He set up a GoFundMe page for workers, for the stadium workers, and I'll actually attach that link in the description. And, he's been able to raise money for those workers who are out of a job now, and he actually set up a wiffle ball game, Sandlot style, where a bunch of major leaguers came together and had some fun one night, and that's awesome. Stuff like that's awesome to see. And, paychecks are a big issue now, especially for the minor leaguers. They're not making a ton of money, and they're looking for ways to make some money during this period because typically minor leaguers either work in a facility helping younger kids or they have another type of job. And when they have that few month span where that's when they're going to work in the off season, when they leave, that's how it works. They leave, and then that's when baseball starts again. They don't expect to all of a sudden have to resort back to doing whatever they were doing in the off season, and that opportunity might not even be there for them during that time. So, the major leaguers have been great with helping those guys out. I know from experience that guys, especially in independent ball, they have those jobs in the off season, and when the season comes around again, it's baseball time. So it's a very weird situation where once spring training starts, all of a sudden you're put back into that previous situation. So maybe that could be a next episode where we talk to a minor leaguer about what they're going through and see what their reaction is to it and what they're trying to do in order to stay afloat until spring training resumes again. So before we wrap it up here on the Bat Boys Corner podcast, we do have some breaking news as the commissioner just announced that he had a conference call with 30 clubs, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention restricted events of more than 50 people for the next 8 weeks. The opening of the 2020 regular season will be pushed back in accordance with that guidance. Wow. So 8 weeks brings us to mid-May, and that's something else. I think at this point, MLB is going to have to limit the amount of games this year because you can't be playing until Christmas. You can't be playing, and then that'll throw off the offseason for next year. I get if it's only by a couple weeks, but if it's by over a month, that's different. That's a lot different. That's very difficult to make up, and you only have so many doubleheaders in a season. So, this is, time will tell what happens here, and it looks like guys will just have to continue to work on their own, back home or at their complex, as long as it's safe for them to use, and we'll see what happens moving forward. So with that being said, that'll do it here on the Bat Boys Corner podcast. Stay connected with us by following us on Instagram at Billy_the_Batboys_corner, on Twitter at Billy the Batboy, on Facebook as Billy the Batboys Corner, and on TikTok as Billy the Batboy. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe and turn on post notifications so you can be notified every time we post a new episode. Episode number 2 will be out soon, so stay tuned, and we'll see you next time here on the Bat Boys Corner podcast.
Hi, this is John Sterling, and you're listening to the Bat Boys Corner podcast.